This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's going on, real MVPs? Welcome inside another episode of Fully Loaded. I'm Brandon Swanson. Across the table from me is Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
And we are so excited to be back here with you. Couple of weeks off, but excited to be back. And we've got some good topics tonight, talking about something that really all of the MLB has been talking about, and it's the Astros. It's Rob Manfred's recent comments about the Astros, the World Series trophy, or another word and term that he used for it that had a lot of MLB fans and players pretty darn heated. We're looking at Luis Severino, Tommy John surgery, most likely season ending. I don't think there's any way to get around Tommy John surgery and come back, to have Tommy John surgery come back this season. And then we've got our patron Sam calling in later tonight. We are very excited about that. That's going to be fun, talking about some baseball in the AL Central Division. So that will be a great time and a great conversation with Sam. But before we get into it, of course, always looking for support here on MVP. And you can do that by heading over to patreon.com/most valuable podcast. Donating just $1 is going to help support what we are doing right here. And at the $10 tier, Ricky, what can they get at the $10 tier?
You can get what Sam gets tonight. You get to call into a podcast of your choice, and we talk about what you want to talk about, and you get to talk about it with us.
I don't think it gets too much better than that. So diving right into it now, and we've got, I really think, and I'm very upset about this first topic.
I got some things to say.
And that's where we're talking about Rob Manfred.
Manfred.
That's the only way Ricky gets his last name right, by saying Manfred.
Fred Manfred.
Not Fred, but his brother Rob. He's been the MLB commissioner since January of 2015. Mm-hmm. And in his time, I think he's been kind of one of the commissioners that has kind of flown under the radar. I don't think there's been a lot of controversy with him. It's not like Adam Silver where he's had to come out. There's been a lot of things that have happened with the league, and there's been a lot of changes, a lot of growth, and a lot of things that he's had to kind of steward along, where he's been, I think, in the limelight. I don't feel like that has been the same with Manfred. Mm-hmm. He's been able to, as I said, kind of stay away from the limelight, fly under the radar, but not too much luck with doing that here with this Astros situation and things that have been going on. So, about a week and a half ago, in an ESPN interview, when he was talking about the Astros, talking about what happened in vacating their 2017 World Series title, he makes a statement where he says, quote, "The idea of an asterisk or asking for a piece of metal back seems like a futile act," end quote. Mm-hmm. A piece of metal. Just a hunk of junk. Piece of metal. Piece of metal. We probably got a piece of metal around here somewhere. Piece of metal. Doesn't mean anything. Has no value. Nothing. Mm-hmm. That's what you say. You're the MLB commissioner of baseball. Trying to be you are the face of the sport in terms of a executive standpoint. You are trying to lead baseball to a better era, to help it progress to be something that's going to draw in more fans, that is going to make the players happy or happy enough. And you call a trophy that they work day in, day out, a trophy that guys are fighting for, fighting to get into the MLB, fighting to get into the minors. And you call what they're fighting for and working towards and all they're doing with their running, with their lifting, with everything that they do, from choosing a college to the little things. And you call that a piece of metal.
Sometimes foregoing college.
Yes.
Because they're like, fuck it, I want to try to get into the minors as quick as possible. to work my way up through this minor league system. This is a blatant example to me of, and we see it all the time. We see it in politics, and we're seeing it here, where this is the example of whoever is up at the top is not connected with their stuff.
No, not at all.
I relate it to politics most because that's what this kind of is. Like Manfred is kind of like the governor or the mayor or your senator. I don't want to really call him the president, but I guess you could. Where it's like if somebody who is like, for example, if one of the senators here in Illinois was disconnected with the people and what they need, it's really like that's the same thing here. He's not fighting for this trophy, so I can understand him saying that it's a piece of metal. I couldn't believe I heard him call it this because, like you said, these players, their main goal is to win that trophy, and in some cases, like in many cases, players never win a title. Never win a title. You look at guys like some of the greats. Ken Griffey never won a World Series. Kerry Wood never won a World Series. Mark Pryor, Frank Thomas never won a World Series. Like, it is very hard to come by, and you're just going to throw that away and call it a piece of metal. Now, I've said on this show, I do not agree with vacating the trophy. I don't. I don't think you take it away. The best comments I've heard about it have been from Colin Cowherd, who I agree in this standpoint. He said it's kind of a lengthy discussion he had, but I'm going to read it anyways. He said, I think the Houston Astros cheated. And I think baseball has been cheating forever, but I still love watching the World Series. And I still love watching Yankees Red Sox. And I still go to Dodger Stadium. But I know it's not golf, NASCAR. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. They're constantly pushing the envelope. That's the sensibility, the culture of NASCAR. That's the sensibility of baseball. If you vacate, and this is the part I agree with, if you vacate the Astros title, what do you do with the steroid era? You don't think steroids won a few World Series titles? You don't think they changed the outcome of a series? All the big sluggers were on juice, cattle steroids. You open up the door for this. You open up a can of worms, or you open up a case of worms, not a can of worms. Yes, I think Houston did something that got their GM and their managers fired and should have. But there's a big gap between that and vacating a title. We may learn this week the Red Sox cheated. This was a while ago he said this. Cheated the following year in 2018. That story could come out today or tomorrow. So do we vacate that title? What are you going to do? Baseball has to own its baggage. And it's that second part that I agree with. If you vacate the Astros title, what do you do about the steroid era? Because Colin is right. You don't think a couple of steroids influenced some series, influenced a championship here or there? Like, you would have to vacate titles then for an entire era where guys were juicing up.
You couldn't do that now because you wouldn't be able to go back and pinpoint, okay, this is exactly what was happening. But if, again, baseball has progressed, there's more technology, there's more things like that, and there's more testing that's going on where they're able to know exactly what guys are putting in their bodies, or at least have a better idea of what guys are putting in their bodies. So you wouldn't be able to go back and vacate that because you'd be going years and years and years and years back without any actual evidence. They have evidence here that the Astros were cheating. And we don't even necessarily know all the evidence. Yeah. I still think that the Altuve video of him mouthing, going like this with his jersey, and I understand it's for this bad tattoo, whatever. But
originally in the interview it was because he's shy. He's shy. He doesn't want to. And then people are like, oh, there's all these Instagram photos of you with no shirt on. You're sure really shy about it, Jose.
I guess it really seemed, I can't remember exactly what it was that we saw him, where it seemed to be what he was mouthing.
Yeah.
But basically, like, no, you can't take this off,
Yeah.
can't rip this off, or whatever it was.
Because in the interview afterwards, it was, I'm shy, and then later on, like 5 seconds later, end of that post-game interview, he goes, yeah, well, my wife wouldn't have been happy. It's like, so which one is it? In already a 5-minute interview, you've given 2 answers that contradict one another.
So I do get
Keep your lies straight.
I get where you're coming from on saying that you would have to vacate the others, and you just wouldn't be able to. You wouldn't be able to vacate anything in the steroid era. But I think that bringing it back to Rob Manfred is I wanted to say Manfred.
He should be called
Rob Manfred. It's just, I think what you said, where it's an out of touch, not with it, only cares about he only cares about, again, the executive stuff. He only cares about, the making money and doing this stuff, and he wants to just keep all the people at the top happy who have the money, and doesn't really understand the players or understand what they're fighting for and what they're doing. Yeah. I mean, you look at some of the players, and the one that was I think the most outspoken about it was Justin Turner from the LA Dodgers, saying, quote, for him to devalue the trophy the way he did just tells me he's out of touch and how out of touch he is with the players in this game, end quote. That is really sad, and it makes me sad for these players to know that the guy who's supposed to be, again, like I mentioned at the top, leading baseball to the next era, to a new era, to bring more fans in and bring in more young fans, it doesn't give you a whole lot of confidence in the guy who's doing it.
You know who I feel the most sorry for with all this? Can you take a guess at what one player I feel the most sorry for?
Clayton Kershaw.
No, Mike Trout. Because, so he made comments also more so about the Astros, where he said, it's sad for baseball. It's tough. They cheated. I don't agree with the punishments. The player's not getting anything. It was a player-driven thing. It sucks, too, because guys' careers have been affected.
Yeah.
A lot of people lost jobs. It was tough. Me going up to the plate knowing what was coming, it would be fun up there. A lot of guys lost respect for some of the guys. It seems like every day something new is coming out. And he said, I lost respect for some guys. A lot of stuff. No, they just said the same thing twice later on in the article. But he's the player I feel sorry about, because it's he's the best player in baseball. You look at WAR. I saw something on Twitter. You look at wins above replacement since 2005, and he's led the league every year. And this Angels team right now they've got Rendon now. They got
Ohtani,
Joe Madden coming in. Ohtani a couple years ago,
hopefully now.
But lately, this Angels team hasn't been a good team since the Mike Scioscia days. Early Mike Scioscia days, where he beat Dusty Baker when Dusty Baker, I believe, was with the Giants at the time, was that World Series. But that was way before Mike Trout. I want to say that was just after they switched from my favorite Angels logo, the white pinstripe with the Angels with the A with the little wing on it.
Yes.
Love those fucking jerseys. But he's the one I feel bad about, because it's I feel the last couple of years, the Angels have been wasting his career away. And if anyone deserves a World Series, it's the best player in baseball. Wouldn't you think so? I know you got to earn it, and it's not given. But, you would think that the best player in a sport deserves to have a team or have a chance to win a championship, and then a team in their division is cheating and stealing signs. I think that hurts too, that the Astros are in the Angels division.
I think it definitely is unfortunate that Mike Trout has not been able to even really sniff out a championship, but at the same time, I don't think that has anything to do with this cheating scandal. Yeah. It's not like the Angels were going to make it
I feel
at that
sorry
point.
that
Well, yeah,
he
I mean,
can't
I feel,
win,
I,
but
well,
the Angels
well, I feel
cheat their way
sorry that
to
his
or
man,
the
that,
Astros cheat their way to a championship.
I feel sorry that the management of the Angels can't get better players around him. You know, now hopefully they have a solid core, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with you that I feel the most sorry for him. I feel sorry for the Dodgers. I feel sorry for the team that was right there.
They were directly
that back-to-back
involved.
years in 17 and 18 couldn't get it because they had a team in the Astros cheating and they had a team in the Red Sox cheating. Now, do we know exactly that they were cheating during the World Series?
Thank God the Cubs weren't cheating. That would have been back-to-back years.
We don't know exactly. Most people are assuming.
That
Most
the Cubs
people
were
are
cheating?
No, I don't care about the Cubs. I don't give a crap about
I brought
them.
them up 'cause of 2016.
I know. But I'm saying that most people assume that the Astros most likely were cheating in the World Series. Most people assume, even up to the World Series. It may not be true, and people will assume it. Yeah. They're like, if you're cheating now, there's no way you didn't cheat in the World Series.
I'm sorry, with the Astros, there's so much video evidence to know that they were like the just videos of everything. And like, I believe that if you told me, and for YouTube, there's a little bit of a jump cut there. We got interrupted. Twitch got to see behind the scenes. YouTube, you don't get to see that polished product on YouTube. But what you were saying, if they cheated up into the World Series, I find it, like you were saying, hard to say, oh, well, I grew a conscience and morality for the World Series. You know what? And this doesn't have to do with Manfred, but I really wanted to talk about, like, bring all this up because of this. You know who is and I already have opinions. So when I say biggest idiot, I already thought he was an idiot going into this. But did you hear the dumb fucking comments that Dusty Baker said, now new manager of the Astros? Did you hear what he said?
No.
So
I didn't.
Here's what he said. And this got me so angry about baseball. And I'm going to pull Manfred into this as well. Baker says, I'm depending on the league to try to put a stop to the seemingly premeditated retaliation that I'm hearing about. In most instances in life, you get kind of reprimanded when you have premeditated anything. I'm just hoping that the league puts a stop to this before someone gets hurt. Now, don't get me wrong. The stuff that I saw on ESPN with, I think it was Josh Riddick, I think. If you're someone sending death threats to the Astros, you are an idiot and should not be on this earth in my mind. You should never threaten. Yeah, the Astros cheated. I'm not going to threaten Jose Altuve's life. I'm not going to threaten Carlos Correa's life. You are an idiot if you put a death threat towards either a player or a player's family. That's even more fucked up. Where it's like, I'm not going to come after you. I'm going to come after the ones you love. You, to me, if you're like that, shouldn't be on this earth because of how you think. That being said, when I saw this and more about the premeditated, I am going to be so angry at baseball. If, let's say, I'm Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah.
And Jose Altuve comes to the plate, and I throw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball behind his back. Or even worse, if I was one of the pitchers, if I was anybody, I would just throw it right at his back. I would hit him. I wouldn't do the kind of, I'm going to call it chicken shit thing of like, ooh, throw behind their back. I'm going to send a message. No, I'd hit him. And the reason why this gets me so angry, because of, and yet again, this is a wait and see of what we're going to actually see. But if the league listens to Dusty Baker and is like, oh, we're gonna come out and say if you throw an Astros player, you're gonna be reprimanded for it. I am gonna be so angry because of all this shit we've seen of the unwritten rules of baseball. I think if there's anything to throw at a guy for, cheating should be one of them. Not throwing at Tim Anderson because he celebrated hitting a home run. Like, that to me is like baseball your ass backwards. If throwing at somebody who celebrates a home run, it's okay to hit them. You don't get suspensions for that. But if you throw it a cheater, oh, shame on you. You get a suspension. That's when I saw that and was like, Rob Manfred, you got to choose your actions pretty lightly. Because if you suspend someone for throwing at an Astros player, you're doing the wrong thing in my mind. They should be retaliated against because it kind of makes me think of like the old playground rules where like I'd have some situations when I was in school of like when you're a parent and it's like, let's say you're in an altercation with a kid, you can come home and tell your parents, but there are some things where it's like my parents would just tell me, Ricky, we can't help. This is a problem that you are going to have to solve. We can't go to the school and get the school involved. This is a problem that you have to solve. You have to find a way to solve it. Now, there are different situations that fall outside of that. Obviously, violence is outside of that situation, but usually there's, hey, if you do something like cheat, you should be reprimanded for it. Let the players get it out of their system, and then boom, it's done. The question is, how far will it go until other players haven't forgotten, I don't want to say forgotten about it, but are less upset about it in a way where like the anger has died down and they don't feel like they have to retaliate at an Astros player. I don't know how long that period would go on for.
Going back to what you said with the guy who threw it, Tim Anderson,
Yeah.
I do believe he received a suspension. I don't know how long it was, but I do believe he received a suspension of a couple
then
games.
It's going to depend on how many games someone gets for throwing at a cheater. Because
maybe it was one game.
Because if it's more than that, it shouldn't be more than that.
And here's the thing with what you were also saying is there's going to be
Shouldn't get suspended at all.
We are going to eventually forget about this. You know, year goes by, let's even say the end of the season. Let's even say the end of the season. The media will be on to something new, always are. We will be on to something new, but the players, they're never going to forget about this. That's the biggest thing.
I'm going to disagree. We're not going to forget about it, but it will become like steroids where we remember it, but we're not as upset about it as we are right now in the moment.
True, but I also think there's going to be something new. There's going to be something new, something bigger, something juicier that we latch onto. And all of a sudden, cheating, oh, that was yesterday. We got this now. It's like the big shiny object where you're like, oh, they cheated. Yeah, now not good. Well, but we've got this. So that's just how we are. But the players, they will never forget. They will not forget next year. They won't forget in 5 years. They're not forgetting this because, like Mike Trout said, there were these guys who he liked, who he enjoyed playing against, that he has lost complete and utter respect for. He'll never forget that.
I'm going to throw this out there then. Let's fast forward a little bit here. And some of these guys, I don't think any of these guys have gotten new deals. I'm looking at Spot Rack, okay? So if we fast forward just a little bit, Jose Altuve has a new deal. His deal isn't up until 2025. Yet again, 5 years in the future. That's a long time. Carlos Correa, unless he gets a brand new deal, he's a free agent in 2022. George Springer, 2021. Josh Riddick, 2021. The other thing I think about is when it comes to negotiating contracts, is this cheating scandal going to end up hurting these players when it comes to negotiations? Because if I'm the Astros, if I'm the front office, I might be thinking now, hey, I've got the upper hand. You can say you want this much, but there may be a possibility that other teams go, hey, we could really use Carlos Correa. Let's say I'm going to use the Angels. Let's say the Angels are like, we want to go after Correa. And Mike Trout speaks up. Somebody with that much influence within the organization actually speaks up and says, no, I don't think it'd be right to add a person of his character to this team. Because every one of these players now if players are thinking about this, are GMs and coaches now thinking that this is a shot at the character of this player, and these teams might not have as many suitors as they did? Or all this that I'm saying right now could be fluff because Carlos Correa is one of the best shortstops in the league, and anyone would be stupid to not want him on their team, even 2 years from now when he's 27. Is talent going to trump, he's got bad character because he cheated?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. And the reason I think that is because going back to trying to find his name, I couldn't think of it. How about, here we go. I've got it, waiting for it. How about Roberto Ozuna? Beat a woman.
Yeah.
And he got signed. He got signed by the Astros, but he got signed. And I think that really at the end of the day, for a lot of these clubs, if you have talent and you can help them win games, that's all these guys care about. That's all these, when I say guys, that's all these owners.
Yeah.
And that's all these owners are telling their GMs, hey, you go for this guy. We don't care what he did. He's good.
Well, and
he
that's
can help
why I
us
bring up,
win. And that's really, at the end of the day, Ricky, it's about dollar bills.
No, I get that, but I wonder if, and that's why I brought up like a Mike Trout or like a Justin Turner, or if there's a multiple group of players that's like, hey, we don't want this guy on our team. Is that a situation that we could get into where there may be actual players that are like, I don't want to play with this person because I still feel like what you're saying. This might stick with the players longer to where there might be a few, especially those Dodgers, who may say, I don't want to play with this person. I really do not want to play with Carlos Correa. I don't want to play with Jose Altuve. Like any of these Astros. Would a group of players or player with enough clout, enough influence, I should say, like Michael Trout, actually speak up within the organization and create that kind of situation for their team?
Depends on how much their organization cares about them and cares about their voice. Because at the end of the day, the player can say all they want, but still, that owner, that general manager, that manager, they're going to have the final say if they're bringing them in or not.
Yeah.
And they can be like, we heard you, we get it, but we want to win, and you're going to have to learn to play with them. And then it could be that current player on the team says, okay, I get it. I want to be traded. So it really is. It's very interesting, but as much as the player could voice their concern, they don't have final say.
Question I have for you. We were talking about Manfred earlier, like what really has he done since becoming commissioner in 2015? Is there something he can do that can change the perspective of him right now? Because like Demon King earlier on, Demon King, I don't know if you're still in chat, but when we first started streaming and talking about Manfred, he said Manfred is a joke, should step down, and then he went on to say that he believes the best commissioners have all come from the NBA. David Stern, Adam Silver, whereas like Bud Selig, under his time, realignment, added interleague play in 97, added 4 additional franchises in the Rockies, Marlins in 93, Diamondbacks and Devil Rays in 98. He also was a part of the relocation when the Expos relocated to D.C. You had the World Baseball Classic in 2006. Is there anything that Manfred can do to change the public opinion of him post this cheating scandal?
Well, what he has done is, and I think this came out after the cheating scandal, but he had ideas to change the postseason.
Oh, that's right.
And here
we
they are.
Oh, it's so dumb.
7 teams in each league make the playoffs, up from the current 5. The wild card games are replaced with best of 3 wild card series. Playoff teams are seeded first by division winners and then by teams with the next 4 highest win totals. Ties are broken by head-to-head series. No tiebreaker games for postseason entry or seeding will be held. The number 1 seed will get a first-round bye. On the Sunday night after teams play the last game of the regular season, a selection show will take place in which the number 2 seed chooses which team it wants to play among the bottom 3 seeds, numbers 5, 6, and 7. The number 3 seed then makes its choice. The 4 seed plays the remaining club. Finally, the higher seed will host all 3 games in the wild card round. Trevor Bauer may have had the best tweet to this. He, of course, who is now on the Cincinnati Reds and does not give a damn about anything. He does give a darn about a lot, but whatever he says, he's like, do not care what people think.
Yeah.
So he comes out and he tweets, no idea who made this new playoff format proposal, but Rob is responsible for releasing it. So I'll direct this to you, Rob Manfred. Your proposal is absurd for too many reasons to type on Twitter and proves you have absolutely no clue about baseball. You're a joke. That was on February 10th, and he got almost 61,000 likes on that. Didi Gregorius comes out and is a little bit more diplomatic, says, why are we changing this lovable sport so much?
Well, I'm going to say this. My 2 favorite postseasons are, I'm going to say my 3 favorite postseasons are the NFL. Well, scratch that. Baseball, the NFL, and hockey. For many reasons. Basketball, it doesn't really get interesting for me until the second round or the conference finals, because, like, for example, in basketball, like this year, you're going to have the Milwaukee Bucks probably going up against the Nets or the Magic. I don't care about that. Unless there's a matchup in the first round, like Heat 76ers, that has a little bit of storyline, a little animosity, then I can get into it. But otherwise, my jimmies aren't going in basketball until second round or later when the field shrinks a little bit. But when it comes to those other 3, hockey's the outside one because they don't have any 1-game playoffs or anything. Hockey's just damn hard. Like, that is a trophy that I believe is the hardest trophy in all of sports to win. Like, their postseason is brutal.
Yeah.
It feels like it lasts forever, and I love it. And I don't even watch hockey. I won't watch regular season hockey. But, like, if a playoff game is on, you can kind of feel the intensity, even if it's like Toronto and San Jose. I know that they might be East-West. That might be a Stanley Cup matchup. But, like, even if it's that, I'm fucking tuning in if I'm not watching anything else because of just the pressure in that moment, especially overtime hockey. To me, nothing's better than overtime playoff hockey. Number 2 is the NFL because it's do or die. I got 1 game against you. I got to put my best out on the field. The only bad thing about football, in my sense, is the games are too spread out. They have to be. I'm not saying push them together, but you got a week in between games, so there's kind of like a lot of downtime in between them. Exactly. There's a lull. Baseball to me is perfect, where it's like the thing I love the most, the new wild card format, phenomenal. 1 game. You get 1 baseball game to win. And the thing I love even more than that, play-in games.
Oh, those
when
are good.
You have
those are good.
Like, as a Cub fan, I hated it because we lost twice.
You never won the play-in game.
But when we had a do-or-die game against the Brewers, and then the loser of that then had to play a do-or-die game against the Rockies, that's exciting. Or there was the one year where I think it was the Rays the Rays had a play-in game, and then that play-in game got them to the wild card game, and then they got into the divisional round. Like, that to me is exciting. And with this new format, you'd be taking that all away. You'd be taking that away. I don't want to watch a best of 3 series. Give me that drama of like, hey, we've got the division winners. We're getting one more playoff team. Who wants it? The next 2 teams. Who wants to earn the right to be in the playoffs? You get one game to do so. Like, to me, there's nothing more exciting than that. The 1-game playoff, especially with this wild card.
Do you think they would do that or proposing to have the best of 3 wild card series because a lot of people do enjoy the wild card? They like the wild card game right now. Do you think that they're doing it because they're hoping that more people would tune in? They could get some better TV ratings for a little bit longer, and it's the money, of course.
It's money.
So for a fan's perspective, I think that you look at the 1-game wildcard game, like you said, Ricky, it's very exciting. Mm-hmm. There's just so much like hyped up on it. And it's a one-time, who's better tonight? A lot of times it ends up being, a good pitching duel, back and forth fight. And if you do make it a best of 3, you take a little bit of that, you take a little bit of the pressure off. Mm-hmm. But you also take a little bit away of that excitement factor that here we go. We've got one shot at this.
Well, and plus the thing that I love about the baseball playoffs, and Sam in Twitch chat said that he actually likes the 3-game format, the proposed 3-game format. But for me personally, one of the best things about the baseball postseason comes with the pitching matchups.
Yes.
And the reason why I say that is you've got decision. And I know some people out there may say, well, why do those decisions even have to be made? They shouldn't be made. But like, for example, I think it was the thing about the Cubs in 2015, where there was a big deal about who the Cubs were going to pitch in that wild card game. Because I'm at 2016 right now. Let me go back to 2015. In 2015, we had that game against the Pirates. And many people were like, oh, you got to throw John Lester out there. You got to do it. And there were people that are like, yeah, but Arrieta's your best pitcher. Like, that was his Cy Young year. He was having his best year that year. Thank God we did throw him out there because he pitched a phenomenal game. But then there were people that were like, yeah, but wouldn't you want Arrieta game 1 against the Cardinals? And there's like, for some teams, there's that debate of like, do we throw our ace out there? Do we not throw our ace out there? Do we throw in this other starter? Because if we win, we want to have our ace for game number 1 of the DS. If we throw him in the wild card, we may be at a disadvantage when we get to the DS series. Like, there's that kind of mental gymnastics that you have to do. Or like you'll see teams kind of do the, especially like when it's a do or die game, especially a wild card game, that's what it is, of, all right, we threw John Lester for this many innings. Fuck, it's still a 0-0 game. We ain't going to the bullpen. Throw Kyle Hendricks out there.
Yeah.
Throw another starter out there. A guy that we can use to go deep if it has to, because no one's been hitting the ball right now. And I don't know when the next run's going to happen. Like, you have all these decisions that can happen in one game to where you eliminate that, even if you go to a best of 3. Even if you go to that best of 3, you kind of make all that go away.
Yeah, I mean,
all of what makes it great.
And you talk about, a pitching duel, all that type of stuff. It's a very much a managing duel. It's very much a managing duel. It's a chess match. Who is able to make the better move at the right time? Did you let a pitcher go an inning too long? If you did, that can hurt you. Yeah. If you pull him too early, that can hurt you. I mean, those types of things, that's somewhat taken away because, hey, if you lose that first game, you can jump in and get the win in game 2. So it wouldn't be that same it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the same emotions high. It wouldn't be the same adrenaline high. I don't know if I like the proposed best of 3 wild card series.
Think about it this way. I'm just going to go back through baseball a little bit. And this is another reason why I wouldn't get rid of it. These are the last 1-game playoff teams in baseball. I'm going to start with 2018. Technically, you can start last year. The Nationals were a wild card team, weren't they?
When you say 1-game playoff, 1 game.
So the 1 game, the tiebreaker proceed. Okay, so these are tiebreakers. That's what it is.
Okay.
So this is before the playoffs. In 2018, there was a tiebreaker for the NL West between the Dodgers and the Rockies. A 1-game playoff. Winner wins the West. Loser does not. The Dodgers won that game 5-2. They ended on going on to the World Series. Yes, we know the Red Sox cheated. Cubs and Brewers, 2018. Also, 1-game playoff. Loser goes to play the Rockies in the wild card round. Winner goes to the NLDS. Brewers won. They went to the NLCS that year. 2013, AL wild card game. You had the Rays and the Rangers had to play that game in Arlington before the Rays had to go then to Cleveland, and the Rays won in Texas, beat Cleveland before playing the Red Sox in the NLDS. That was just a great game against the Rangers, a great game against the Indians. I remember watching both of them. You had a 12-inning game between the Twins and the Tigers in 2009. That winner of that game wins the division and plays the Yankees. I mean, sorry, Twins fans. Every time you run into the Yankees, you lose.
Yeah, it's just a known thing.
Even in 2008, White Sox Twins. White Sox won that game. They played the Rays in the first round of the playoffs that year. Yes, you lost 3-1.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't good.
In 2007, Rockies Padres, for the winner gets to play. This was before the wild card game. So really, this was a back in the day before the rule was changed, a wild card game was, hey, winner of this game is the wild card team and plays the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
The Rockies won that game. You also had Mets Reds in 1999, Cubs Giants in 1998, before the Cubs ran into the juggernaut, which was the 90s Braves, late 90s Braves. 95, and then before we were born in the 80s. But all those games I listed from 93 all the way to 2018, you'd be getting rid of that under this new format, and I'm not for that. I am for what we have, for the excitement that we already have, because some of those teams, you catch fire with those 1 games. You catch a little bit of fire, and you go far.
To bring this back to Rob Manfred. Do you think that it's going to be the Astros saga and their cheating scandal and how he came out with some of his comments, which he did, we have not said this yet, he did apologize for. Yeah. But he still said them.
Yeah.
And people can make mistakes. I get that. And they can say things in the heat of a moment after it's been a long time. I know he's been going through a lot of things with dealing with a lot of scandals and looking into them and all this stuff. I get it, but at the end of the day, you are the commissioner. People are looking up to you. He has the Astros scandal. He has the Red Sox scandal. He makes his comments. They're making changes for 2020 to try and speed up the game and
robot
make it better. No, that would be horrible. Not a fan at all. 4
days ago, USA Today, MLB to test automatic strike zone, a step towards robot umpires during spring training.
It's so stupid. I don't even understand why they even flirt with the idea. Then we talk about what we've been talking about for the last however long about these proposed playoff rules. All this stuff going on. Do you think Rob Manfred needs to go? Do you think he's really putting forth? Do you think he's doing a disservice for baseball Do you think that he's bringing it to a new era in a good way? What are your final thoughts here, Ricky, on Rob Manfred, what he's done, what he needs to do going forward?
Right now, I would say yes. I feel like it's not effective immediately. He needs to go. But I just sit there and go, what have you done for the game? What have you done? And maybe it's recency. I can't remember. I don't know anything he's done to positively influence the game. Now, a big one that even Sam threw out in Twitch chat, expansion. There are rumors that the MLB at some point is going to expand to 32 teams. Manfred is even talking about how ideally he would like to add one team from the Pacific Northwest and then one team from the Eastern time zone. I know that there's a huge group in Portland that have really spearheaded efforts of getting land, building a stadium. They really want a baseball team in the city of Portland. Would it be bad? No. Kind of gives the Mariners maybe a little rival in the general area to work with. That to me would be huge. If they expand to 32 teams, all right, you're expanding the league. Now, that's its own different can of worms, whether it's good or bad. Do you want more teams? Is that more teams in general? The thing I like about it is more teams mean more minor league teams. You're adding minor league teams, at least one more, to each set in the minor leagues, which means more roster spots for guys who are trying to get up and trying to progress through the minor leagues. So it gives more guys opportunity to play the game that they love, which is baseball. But it's is he going to expand? Is it a big relocation? Changing the playoffs would definitely influence his candidacy, because it looks like Bud Selig did so many good things for the game that to follow Bud Selig, it's kind of been I don't want to say an afterthought, but kind of a kind of a thing when it's Rob Manfred. I don't know if you agree, disagree, what your thoughts are.
So when Manfred assumed office on January 25th, 2015, he stated that his primary goals as commissioner were youth outreach, embracing technology,
robot umps,
quickening the pace of play, strengthening player relations, and creating a more unified business operation. I would say the Astros embraced technology, and which is why he's probably not punishing them in the worst way, because he's saying, hey, they did one of the things I had as a goal.
They embraced technology.
And then secondly, strengthening player relations.
And ingenuity.
Not doing too well on the strengthening player relations category.
That hunk of metal, piece of metal.
Piece of metal, that's all it is. Bunch of garbage. It may be the commissioner's trophy, but it's trash.
Yeah, the Rob Manfred trophy.
I think that there's more things that he could be doing. Certainly, I mean, just looking at his goals that he had, I think that he could be doing a lot more with strengthening player relations, quickening the pace of play. I think they're doing that. They're trying to make in between innings faster. They're trying to make the game not so. They don't want to have as many lulls in it. I understand that. The embracing technology, there's a point where there's probably too much technology in a game that, hey, you know what, let's have replay. Let's replay things that need to be replayed. Let's not slow the game with replay, though. And absolutely, I don't think I am a very anti robot umps. I just am. One, you're taking a job away from people. And two, I really think that's just part of the game. It's part of having the umpire there. They make their call. You have that human, touch to it. If there's something wrong, if there's a call not made correctly, in a lot of instances, you can go back to replay.
So here's what I would do. Ready? Because I know everyone out there, when it comes to robot umps, is like, well, you can't challenge every ball or strike. Here's what I would do that would make it easy. You ready? Easiest thing in the book. they already have a challenge, right? Kind of works like the NFL.
Yeah.
If I challenge, I get it right, I get one more challenge to use later on in the game. Just expand it to you can now challenge a ball or a strike. But now you have to think about it. Not saying you can challenge any ball or strike. Like every time you think it's a bad call, you can't challenge it. You could just take that one challenge and use it on, hey, I think that's a strike. Hey, I think that's a ball. If you get it wrong, all right, you got it wrong, you lost your challenge. You get it right, you get to keep your challenge. And it also gives the manager more of that managing that we talked about of like, all right, at this point in the game, do I want to use it here on this? Is this a significant thing? Also, then you got to think about, well, do I want to use it on this? Because what if there's something that happens later on? Do I want to save my challenge for that? And it would be so easy to correct. You want to know how easy it would be? You have an earpiece that's in the ump's ear already, so he doesn't have to go over to a headphone. An earpiece that he's wearing in his ear. You put the flag up, hey, I want to challenge that. All the guy in New York has to do is, yeah, it was a strike. He's already seen the footage. You just see where it landed, and you just go, yep, it's a strike. Yep, it's a ball. Easy. 2 seconds, boom, we're out playing. Now, it would be like that because everything's got to be drawn out. All the umps have to come in. They got to go off to the side. They got to put a headset on.
Is it real if you don't put a headset on?
We don't even have a little screen for them. They got to look up at the big scoreboard, pointing at it. Look, it's like, is that realistic? They're watching it like we are at the stadium.
Well, they're not actually talking about the call. They're going, she got a hot dog. Yeah. I would have gone with the Polish.
In the NFL, they put them under the tent, and it's just them in there, which I will say.
Well, they don't anymore. They don't put them under a tent anymore.
True, good point. Side note, though, you know who's really doing it right? The XFL. Have you seen any of the XFL?
I really have not watched a full game.
You know what they do during challenges? You know where the camera goes during challenges? The replay guy up in the booth. They have a camera over his left shoulder to where you get to see him rewinding it, and it's kind of weird. He's got an Xbox controller that he's using to rewind it and stuff.
Very interesting.
But you get to see and hear through his microphone what they're talking about. So it's like clear transparency. That's what I want in all of, technically I want that in all of sports. If you're reviewing a call, I want to know what the refs are talking about. Because then we don't get what you just said. Oh, they're not talking about the call at all. You don't get that if there's that transparency.
I think there's so much here that we could talk about and literally keep going on for. But we are going to close out segment 1, and it was a very fun, I think, great conversation.
I think it was our longest topic so far in 3 episodes.
I really enjoyed it, and I hope that you guys did too. Definitely make sure you comment down below on your thoughts on Rob Manfred as the MLB commissioner, his handling of the Astros situation, his comments about the World Series trophy, the other players' comments who came out because they didn't like his comment, and then certainly the proposed MLB playoff expansion. Would love to know all of your thoughts and comments on that.